Proceedings with Dr. Gladwin Joseph, the Director of ATREE. I request him to give the welcome address.
A warm welcome to all of you. Before we formally get started, it's difficult for me to say these words, but we just found out that our last year's awardee, Mr. Girish Sant, actually passed away on Wednesday. It's a shock to all of us, particularly those who knew him well. In the words of some folks who knew him, Girish made significant contributions to the National Mission for Enhanced Energy Efficiency, to the Super Efficient Appliances Program, and to the Planning Commission's Low Emissions Pathway work. In fact, the word contribution underestimates his work. His most recent interventions with the Planning Commission and other government agencies related to advancing wind energy and provisioning minimal supplies of energy to poor through provisions of subsidized coal power stands out. In all his work on energy, Girish always stood for the poor and for the nation's equitable development. Girish was one of the foremost independent energy analysts in the country, with a tremendous commitment and drive. And it's a great sense of loss for the country and to us to make this announcement. And as a mark of respect in his memory, and to commit our renewed efforts to making energy accessible to all in India, that was his vision and mission. I would like you to stand up, please, and join me in a few moments of silence. It is indeed a cloud over this award, and my apologies. A warm welcome to all of you, particularly our distinguished guests, friends, and my colleagues. This is the 8th T.N. Khoshoo Annual Award and Lecture. At this time, I would like to specially invite Dr. Elinor Ostrom to the stage at this time. Now I'd like to invite Professor Kamal Bawa, well known to us at ATREE. He's our founding president. I'd like to invite Mr. Raj Khoshoo, the eldest son of Dr. T.N. Khoshoo, to the stage at this time, please. A special and warm welcome to the awardees. Today, the names are on the board, Hemlata Pradhan and Sandeep Tambe, and the representatives of 4 schools, 2 from Bangalore and 2 from Delhi. Warm welcome to you, particularly for those who are traveling all the way from Delhi. At this time, we'd especially like to recognize Dr. Khoshoo's wife, Mrs. Mohini Khoshoo, who has come all the way from Delhi. I would like to recognize ATREE's members of ATREE's governing board and advisory board. I will not ask them to stand up at this stage, but I'll mention their names. Roni Nilakani, Dr. Uma Shankar, Darshan Shankar, and of course Kamal Bawa. Raj Khoshoo is on advisory board. And forgive me if you are here and I haven't seen you. Now I have a short surprise. ATREE just got a book published, and just off the press literally this afternoon. and it's about South Asian forest canopies. We had held an international forest canopy conference a few years back, and this is some kind of outcome from that. The editors are here with us, Subhadra Devi, Ganesh, and Amrita. Please stand. And at this time, I would like Elinor Ostrom to please release the book. And if you can just hold it perhaps for a... Thank you very much. Copies will be available later, I think. These are just off the press. It is a book that is rich with detail, but it is intended for a wider audience. It's sort of a coffee table, semi-coffee table book on forest canopies. This is a dimension of the forest that we don't know a lot about. It's sort of like the dimension that is still unexplored and demands a lot more knowledge and understanding. With that, once again, a warm welcome to all of you to the 8th T.N. Khoshoo Annual Lecture and Award. Thank you.
I now invite Dr. Baba, President ATREE, to give an introduction to the T.N. Khoshoo Memorial Award.
Distinguished guests and friends and colleagues, good evening. Dr. T.N. Khoshoo was well known for his work in the environment and sustainable development. Dr. T.N. Khoshoo was also a trustee of ATREE. When Dr. Khoshoo passed away, family and friends of Dr. T.N. Khoshoo set up a Khoshoo Endowment Fund to support a range of activities that included T.N. Khoshoo Memorial Lecture and T.N. Khoshoo Memorial Awards in Conservation and Development. I will not list Dr. Khoshoo's many, many achievements. We have a slide here. And I think many of us know his tremendous contributions to the notions of a sustainable world. I would just like to highlight 2 points. First, Dr. Khoshoo urged us to consider sustainability as a moral responsibility. He viewed good ecological practices as dharma, a moral and ethical imperative. Second, Dr. Khoshoo showed in a book entitled Mahatma Gandhi, an Apostle of Applied Human Ecology, how Mahatma Gandhi anticipated our current environmental dilemma by advocating low consumption, local use, and production of resources. Today's event brings together several extraordinary individuals with a common mission, a mission to which Dr. Khoshoo devoted his life. Dr. Elinor Ostrom, about whom my colleague Sharad Lele will later talk about more fully, has spent her lifetime studying institutions for the judicious use of common property resources. Dr. Sandeep Thambe, one of our awardees is putting into practice many of the institutional frameworks that are required to manage common property resources. Hemlata Pradhan captures the beauty of nature to keep reminding us that appreciation of biodiversity is an integral part of our quest for sustainability. It's really my pleasure and privilege to formally introduce the two recipients of the Khoshoo Memorial Award. Hemlata Pradhan is a young artist from Kalimpong in Darjeeling Hills who is trying to revive the dying art of illustrating wild plants and wild nature. Her artwork has been displayed in the British Museum. She has won a number of awards. She works with school children to make them aware of nature through art. And she has a vision to establish a museum of natural history art. I should also mention here that her father is a very famous botanist who has spent a lifetime studying orchids and rhododendrons. And Dr. Uday Pradhan is also among us. And I think it was interesting when I noticed that Dr. Uday Pradhan actually named one of the orchids he has created after Dr. T.N. Khoshoo. So we have two generations of Pradhans crossing their path with Dr. Khoshoo's legacy. Sandeep Thambe is an Indian Forest Service officer. He got his doctorate from the Wildlife Institute of India, and he works for the government of Sikkim. And he has done great work about which he will talk later on the management of common property resources. He has also written extensively on the biodiversity of Sikkim. He has recently published a book along with others on biodiversity of Sikkim, and he's currently working on another book on climate change in Sikkim. It's difficult enough to find for any state of India one book on any of these two themes, and he has, in a very short period of time, accomplished two goals of not only writing about biodiversity, but also climate change. We honor Sandeep Thambe as a public servant, as a scholar, as a practitioner, and as an author. A rare combination. I would like to invite now Hemlata Pradhan to come and receive the award from Dr. Eleanor Ostrom. I would now like to invite Sandeep Thambe to accept the award from Dr. Ostrom.
I now invite Ms. Hemlata Pradhan, President of the Himalayan Trust for Natural History Art, Kalimpong, to talk about her work.
Honored Chief Guest, Dr. Eleanor Wostrong, Dr. Kamaljit Bawa, Mrs. Khoshoo, Mr. Raj Khoshoo, Dr. Ganeshan Balachandar, Dr. Gladwin Joseph, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, family, friends and media, good evening. To be a recipient of the Khoshoo Memorial Award came to me as a very unexpected and wonderful surprise, and I'm truly grateful to the Khoshoo family, ATREE, the Ford Foundation and the Institute of Rural Research and Development for conferring this prestigious honor on me today. It is indeed a very significant moment for me, as it adds up everything that I have worked for in the past, as well as all the projects that I have lined up for the future towards the conservation of our flora and fauna, as well as the education and sustainable development of our communities in the Himalayas. As I stand here talking, I remember a mantra which my father, a very keen and passionate orchidologist, kept on repeating umpteenth number of times as he taught me how to draw my first flowers. He used to say, "Patience, donkey, patience." 26 years of donkey patience, and it's still going strong. Ever since I began saying my first alphabets, I remember him trying to teach us the names of plants, trees, insects and birds that surrounded us, and taking us out on field trips to nearby jungles so we could observe nature at its best. When I was about 11 years old, I happened to see his field drawings of orchids and rhododendrons, which served to inspire and motivate me, and so my zest for painting began. In the beginning, it was more of a hobby, but that slowly changed into serious passion and now a career. As I set forth on this magnificent but often very difficult journey, I began to realize that just painting the beauty of plants was not enough. The more I found out about our dwindling natural heritage, the more obsessed I became to contribute to its conservation. But the question was, how? Meantime, in the early 2000s, an incident took place in our hills which caused a lot of hue and cry from nature lovers and conservationists alike. It was heartrending to see large areas of trees felled, huge portions of hills cut away, and unique spots of natural beauty irreversibly damaged by the Teesta Hydro Dam project in North Bengal, so close to the Mahananda Wildlife Sanctuary. Thousands of orchids and other plants of great scientific and aesthetic interest, which form parts of complex web of life in the valley, were eliminated without a second thought. This got me thinking that these wonderful sites would soon be a thing of the past if unrestrained development, like in the Teesta River Valley and other places in the Himalayas, carried on. It became my passion to observe them in nature and document them as I found them. The aim is to highlight them as extremely important subjects for conservation. Number 2, to immortalize the plants on paper for all times to come. Number 3, it would serve as important documentation for conservation biologists. The paintings that have exhibited in the past decade in India and abroad brings to focus these rare and unique species of orchids, lilies, and other plants that I have seen and observed growing in and around Kalimpong, Darjeeling, and Sikkim Himalayas. It is my hope that these works will bring joy and kindle and foster the interest in these irreplaceable plant treasures and make us all join hands for all times to come. Besides painting, my dream was also to begin an art school where I could teach children and the local community about various art forms involving nature and natural objects that surround us, while promoting environmental consciousness at the grassroots level through the medium of art. This will also help bring them livelihood and sustenance in the future. I have thus initiated a charitable trust called the Himalayan Trust for Natural History Art, which is presently building the Himalayan Institute of Natural History Art in Kalimpong, my hometown, where nature will form the basis of learning and infrastructure of the institute. Although the institute may take some time to begin functioning, the trust has already begun conducting various hands-on workshops since last year for children, mostly from BPL families, in the field of natural history art and various other art forms like textile and ceramics, using traditional methods and materials. My research and short ventures have thus occurred in a network of family, friends, mentors, teachers, colleagues, and students, all relationships that have played a vital role to my being present here today. I feel very fortunate to have developed a family where the bonds go far beyond work, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank each one of them for the significant roles they have played towards my development as a botanical artist and a conservationist. Thank you all once again for being here today, and I hope we can all join hands in the crusade to save these wonderful natural heritage of our planet. Thank you very much.
I now invite our second awardee, Dr. Sandeep Tambe, Special Secretary, Department of Rural Management and Development, Sikkim, to speak a few words about his work.
Respected dignitaries, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed a rare honor to be selected for such a prestigious award. And frankly speaking, the last time I attended such a grand function in which I was more or less the center attraction was my marriage ceremony. And I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful to my wife Trupti and my parents, my colleagues, my supervisors, and my team members for supporting me and to helping me to achieve this dream. At the same time, I'm very grateful to my 3-year-old son Dhruv for sharing his most favorite toy, that is Daddy's laptop, allowing me to work once in a while. I would like to share some of my experiences while working in Sikkim for the last 13 years. And the landscape of Sikkim, as you may know, it is the steepest landscape in the country, the highest landscape, and it's a very remote terrain, and it's very beautiful as well. And the people are very nice, so it's much easier to do good work in this beautiful state. Yeah, so this is the typical landscape of Sikkim, where you see scattered villages in very steep terrain, and people have a mixed farming livelihood. And some of the developmental initiatives of the government of Sikkim are, we have been able to ensure toilet in every home and ensuring that open defecation is a thing of the past. Decentralization is deepened and every Gram Panchayat is becoming empowered slowly. Rural water security is being strengthened over the years. Rural housing is one of the strong points of the government of Sikkim, wherein even poor people have access to quality houses, now each of them costing 4 lakhs. And also how Narega program could transform the lives of women in the state of Sikkim. So Sikkim, as you may know, is fast catching up with one of the best performing states in the country. And this is the Nirmal Raj Award, which is when all the Gram Panchayats become Nirmal, that is 100% sanitation is achieved. So Sikkim is the only state till now which has been able to achieve this 100% sanitation. In decentralization, we were ranked 3rd in the country, and you can see the Honorable Minister receiving the award from Government of India. And in Narega, Sikkim has been performing quite well. It has got very strong transparency safeguards, and 100% implementation is through Gram Panchayats. Social audits are very strictly implemented, and we were recognized at the national level as well. One of the main reasons why Sikkim has been performing well is that the decentralization has been institutionalized. For every 5 Gram Panchayats, we have state-of-the-art block administrative centers, which have a battery of officers from administrative line, accounts line, and technical line supporting these Gram Panchayats. So this state-of-the-art infrastructure has gone a long way in supporting the Gram Panchayats in implementing our programs. This is the rural housing program, wherein the poorest people who are staying in kacha houses are provided grants, so that the owner-driven approach is there to make quality houses. So the old house and the new house. So 6,000 new houses are being constructed in the state of Sikkim, and we aspire to become the first state where there are no kacha houses, where even the poorest person has got a quality house. Not just a room, but a quality house with 4 rooms, which is RCC structure, so that he also can aspire to become a developed person. In Narega, we have been performing quite well, and the physical performance, the target is 100 days, so we could achieve 85 days, which compares very well with the national average. We can see some photographs. Yeah. So then rural water security is another strength of the government of Sikkim, wherein we are trying to revive the springs, lakes and streams. This is a new initiative, and we are trying to harness the hydrological importance of forests. Wherever we have sloping lands, whether it is in private fields, whether it is in forest lands, we are trying to tap the rainwater, because the natural recharge in mountain terrain is only 15%. So we are trying to supplement the natural recharge. So this is that program. This is how we are digging contour trenches and pits in private lands, in forest lands, so that rainwater gets captured. So the target is to trap rainwater, whether it is underground in natural aquifers, in ponds, or in storage tanks. So wherever we have made storage tanks through Narega, we have been able to transform the whole village, because people who had difficulty in even getting access to water, now they have sufficient water even to take up livelihood activities. These are some of the assets we could create through Narega: irrigation channels, flood control works, footpaths, plantations, tea plantations. These are the social audits, wherein all the expenditure is presented in the Gram Sabha, so that people can themselves check and counter-check whether the expenditure was correct or not. The second initiative is in the field of environment, wherein we have been able to secure most of our natural environment. And the dense forests in the state of Sikkim are increasing over the years. So this was the past practice in many of our reserve forests and sanctuaries 10 years back, wherein we had people following, they were agro-pastoralists, and they used the forest for meeting their requirements. And this was the past practice of converting very rich biodiversity forests into artificial pastures. So this is how the habitat got fragmented over the years. And these are the cattle sheds you can see in alpine landscape as well. So because these eastern Himalayan forests are multi-canopied, there is very little fodder available on the ground. So people have to clear the forest so that fodder is available. This is the typical cattle shed, and even retaliatory poisoning also used to take place. So we had a negotiation workshop with all the farmers, and we promoted tourism trail in these forests. This is the Yambung tourism. So many of these herders who knew the forest like the back of their hand, they turned out to be the best eco guides in our alpine areas, and they could gain and attain better livelihood also. Some of them became guides, some of them became porters, some of them became pack animal operators, and livelihood support was also given to the ex-herders. So we